So, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of PAR Real Talk. So short for Power H Radio Real Talk. And today I have a special guest with me on the show. If I get you to introduce yourself, tell us briefly what you do, and also where you're from, please.
Great. Thank you for having me. My name is Kyle David, and I'm president and CEO of KDG, which is a professional services organization based in Allentown, Pennsylvania. But I'm also a part-time professor at Muhlenberg College in the School of Accounting, Business, Economics, and Finance.
Very nice. So you're an entrepreneur and also, you're working as a professor. That's working for somebody, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. That's great. Oh, wow. So, let's go straight from that. How hard is it, or how easy is it to combine work and entrepreneurship? One is working for somebody, one is trying to create your own future.
Sure. And I think that's a really good question because they're two very different postures. One is a posture of leading an organization and having to make sure that your leadership covers the entire gamut of the organization. So that's what I'm doing on my 9 to 5. And then, of course, as a part-time professor, it's leading a classroom and leading a subject matter. And the two of those things really have great interplay because they both require a great amount of humility. I am always fascinated when my students take, the information from class and apply it in a way that I had never thought of. And sometimes, send me emails and phone calls years after taking my class and say, I remembered this thing from class. Look what this has done for me. And so those are very rewarding things. And it's sort of the same in my entrepreneurial endeavors as the leader of an organization, although the feedback loop is a lot faster. With students, you don't always get the feedback loop from when they go out into the professional world as quickly. And so, in my leadership inside of KDG, what is neat is seeing concepts being taught, not just for me, but other members of the organization as well, and then seeing them be uniformly applied. It is something that has driven our organization to a level of operational excellence that we're really proud of. But I think a lot of that we wouldn't have been able to accomplish that had I not had the opportunity to be a professor and sort of humble myself by teaching, what I would consider at this point sort of elementary levels of a subject that I know very well. But that with that humility comes a even greater foundational understanding of those concepts. And like I said, I have never found that my job as a CEO stops and my job as a professor begins. They sort of blend into one another. And I think that's what makes me effective at both.
Oh, that's a really good answer. I like that. Because for myself, I work and I do this. So it's always great to hear feedback from somebody who's been doing it for, I was reading about over 24 years, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow, that's very long time. So well done to you. So and KDG. Okay, let's just first break it down. So what does that stand for, KDG?
KDG was a very poor name that I came up with some 24 years ago. It originally stood for the Kyle David Group, which we always joke sort of sounds like a bad jazz band, or so it doesn't sound like a professional organization. So we shortened it to KDG, which doesn't in and of itself have a lot of meaning other than the fact that it was just a simple abbreviation and easier to spell out. But we've been around for a long time, and I always tell people when they say, okay, well, what do you do? As a professional services organization, our job is to sort of co-opt the mission of our client and help them fulfill it better. And that can be done through a series of different services that we provide to our clients. In large part, they span from marketing services, accounting services, operational management, and change management services, a ton of technology, custom software development, and data management. We get a lot into the realm of big data, particularly when it comes to performance analytics and things like human resources. And then sort of the envelope that covers it all is there's so many different rules and regulations with respect to compliance and compliance management that we help organizations with, as well as IT and cybersecurity. So it's a really wide net, and it sounds like a lot, but just like being a professor and a CEO overlap, the Venn diagram has many circles, but the unions are so wide between all of those services that what we have found over the years is that it's nearly impossible to just provide one or two. If we don't provide the whole suite, there's too many gaps in accountability, too many places for operational performance loss. And from what our clients see, they want somebody that's going to be with them and take responsibility and accountability for the entire solution, not like, well, we only provide this, but not that. So if that goes bad, we can always point fingers over here. It's certainly a challenge to run a business that has, a multitude of different horizontals inside of the same business. However, for our clients, I think they will unanimously agree it's quite rewarding to work with an organization that's willing to take accountability all the way through the entire stack of services that are required to run a performant business these days.
That's absolutely that's a great answer. You kind of went from the little bit I said, and you answered my next question as to what you do. You broke it down, so that is really great. And for me, bringing that into kind of again my professional job, so I work as an IT analyst, and a lot of the time, if it's has a switch or has a plug, it's IT's problem. So it comes back to us, and then it's going, okay, well, where does the fault lie? This system we don't actually support, is third party, but we still have to break it down and try and help them figure out, well, which one of these third parties, is it the one who is dealing with the software, or is it your hardware, or is it maybe the camera or the interface, or maybe the database? So, if you think of somewhere like a crematorium, it's a big deal that we would like somebody to come and go, yeah, we will provide all of these solutions from the internet going in to you streaming that thing out live. So no, absolutely, I see why your customers keep coming back. So, and you've been there for 24 years. Great job.
Thank you very, very much. You're right.
And I wanted to go into kind of my next question as to, okay, you've mentioned all these different businesses, all these different calls within your business. So you deal mainly with technology. What would you say is one of your biggest achievements through in this whole 24 years that you're like, wow, yeah, I'm proud of this one?
I thank you for that question, because I could probably give you a multitude of biggest achievements in different contexts, but I think the one that I'm truly most proud of, and I in entrepreneurship, it's always about a legacy. Well, at the beginning, it's about starting up a business, and then once it's successful, it's all immediately about a legacy. What are you going to leave behind? They're quick to kick you out of this world, but it's the people. I mean, it's all about the people. I mean, we're a service-based business. Our product is our people, and so our ability to educate and upskill and bring people of all different backgrounds into a place where we can service a customer with focus. I think that's our greatest achievement, because here we are, this little company in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and we compete on very, very large engagements with very, very large competitors. And I'm not going to tell you we win every time. We don't, but we do win. And it's important that we win, and we keep learning from our success and our failure, and build people up so that we can increase that win percentage over the course of time. So I think that's what I'm most proud of. I'm most proud of the people. I'm most proud of seeing people grow over the course of time. I'm really proud of the lives that people have been able to build as somewhat of a result of working at KVG. I'm not taking full responsibility, but work is such a large portion of somebody's life that if it isn't engaging, if it isn't rewarding, if it doesn't help you become both a better professional, but also a better person to navigate the world, I think it's a bit of an employment malpractice. And so I'm really proud of that. professionally speaking, like what's that one project? There's one I always come back to, and that is, this is sort of dates me a little bit, but when Senator Joe Lieberman was in office, this is, we're now dating back 15-ish years now. Cybersecurity was still sort of not as in vogue as it was now, and we ended up working with both the senator and the Senate on building a model for web development within the United States Senate that was both secure and could withstand the onslaught of cyber attacks that kept coming in, and that our government had not a totally coherent response to at that time. So we really helped them work through that, and sort of what made it that big successful moment for us is that towards the end of his career in the Senate, Senator Lieberman was very outspoken against Julian Assange and WikiLeaks, and really stirred the pot and became a target for these types of attacks. And the infrastructure that we built withstood all of them. So that was really a neat thing for us to be able to achieve technologically, that sort of put us on the map in a lot of places. And we're very, very proud of that. And we're very, very thankful to the senator and his staff for giving a little known firm in Allentown the chance to do it. It's what it comes down to in life and in business. You have to extend that hand to somebody that's a little bit further down the ladder to help bring them up. And if everybody does that, we all rise together. It's just a great thing.
That's perfect. That's a great answer. I love that. So, okay, let me go into, now we're going into kind of the specific. So there's something I read about, it's called price escaping?
Yes, sir.
Right. So, like, I just wanted to know what drove you to come up with this, like, I call it groundbreaking idea. What got you to come into that? And, well, if you could explain what it is to myself and the viewers first, and then, yeah, the
Sure. So we sort of take for granted now that you can go on the internet and you can very easily search for a product, and you can find reviews, and you can find the best price on something. And of course, in today's day and age, you don't have to leave, your chair, and you can order it and it'll be delivered to your door. Well, in the 90s, that wasn't true. That wasn't even close to true. People were still, sort of, the 90s were sort of like how we look at Chat GPT and AI now. I mean, the 90s looked at the internet the way we look at chat. It was like with a lot of hesitation, like it's neat, it's going to be helpful, it's exciting, but still very scared of it. And that's a natural, posture for people to be in with new things. But one of the things, I was very young at the time. I mean, I was I don't even know if I was in high school at the time, maybe just entering, somewhere in that ballpark. And I was fascinated by all of this stuff, and learned to program very early, learned to, build, modify, all the way down to, modifying circuit boards, inside of computers. And so I saw this opportunity online of the few online retailers that were selling things at that time. There was no way to find out, okay, of the 5, 10, 12 retailers that were available, who had the best price. It was your best guess. And at that time, VCRs, now that's how long ago it was, VCRs were very popular. And it started because there was a Panasonic model VCR. It was incredibly popular. So I built a website and a couple of scripts and applications that, if you put in the UPC code, the barcode number, which I wasn't that bright at the time, you probably just should have been able to type in the model of VCR that you were looking for. But hindsight's always 20/20. But if you put in that UPC, it would find every website that had that VCR for sale, and it would say, "Hey, such and such has the best price. Go buy it there." And I sort of built it as a hobby, a gimmick, a something. And what I realized pretty quickly is it was like, oh, people are using this thing. And I think I made a lot of people good at remembering UPC numbers, because that was the only way to search. But what happened is, over time, enough websites realized that I was sending a lot of traffic to people who bought Panasonic VCRs, that they started asking questions like, what is this? How does this work? Yada, yada, yada. And then over the course of time, I of course expanded to more things other than just VCRs. But I started to form, what were the early days of affiliate relationships with those websites. So I learned in a nanosecond it was valuable to send traffic to them to sell VCRs. And so then I started taking revenue shares from them of, hey, there was one particular model VCR that paid $8 every time one sold. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is alchemy at this point. All I have to do is get people to come here and I get $8 every time somebody goes and buys a VCR. Holy smokes. And it built up over time. Now, again, I was young and naive and, at a period of my life where I needed to learn some lessons. And so I realized a couple of things at that point. One, I should have learned what a patent was because there was a company called, I believe it was Price Grabber, that eventually took something similar, not the exact, but something similar and patented it, and then started sending a lot of really nasty notes to our house and saying, you better stop doing this. This is our technology, so on and so forth. So, I learned a little bit about that. But I also learned about making relationships with other companies and finding out what their pain points are and how to build value for them. So there was an organization that wasn't far from where I grew up in Langhorne, Pennsylvania, called CD Now. It was the online retailer for buying CDs, back in the day when you actually did that thing. Wonderful, wonderful company. But again, I was sending a lot of traffic to them. And here, I wasn't but 14 or 15 years old, and I'm swapping phone calls with, their VPs and CEO. How are you sending us this much traffic? And I had a music catalog to be envied at that time because they kept sending me free stuff to keep me happy. But again, you learned a lot at that point about what do organizations need? What are they willing to pay for that? I mean, how do you quantify that value? And then the importance of just being a nice guy. My father's a pastor. My mother's a church musician. I grew up in the church, and my Christian identity is really important to me. And I learned really quickly that works in business too. When you're a nice guy to people and you give them the better end of the deal, they keep coming back for more. Yeah. And they keep finding ways to utilize you. They keep finding ways to refer you to other folks. And that's one of the things I've held true my whole life, is always give somebody else the better half of the deal. If I feel like I got away with, this grand slam of a deal, nobody's going to want to do business with me again, and the value isn't in one deal. The value is in deals, plural, over a lifetime. And I sort of reaffirmed that early in my career, and I'm really glad I did, because that's something I've continued forward as long as I've been a professional. And every time, I do a deal, it's not like we're sitting, doing, hostage negotiations all the time, but every time I do a deal, I make sure that the deal is lopsided in favor of my counterparty. And for people who haven't done deals with me in the past, they always go, I don't, what are you, an idiot? And most of the time the answer is, I mean, if you think so, this is clearly a winner deal for you. And then, sometimes there's like, well, maybe there's something I'm not seeing. People aren't used to getting the better end of the deal. But once they form a relationship with myself or our organization or some other organizations I'm part of, they don't want to do business with anybody else. And so what's that worth in advertising? What's that worth in marketing? What's that worth? Is it worth a little bit better of a deal to your counterparty? Yeah, it usually is. Can't say it's got 100% perfection rating, but it bats pretty high. And I'm really proud of that.
That's a really full-on answer. I like that. Okay, let me go into kind of my next question. So this business, affiliate marketing, and stuff. Let me break it down into two bits. So first is, who are your target businesses? Are you a small business, or are you more for the, deals with the senator? So are you more for the, big corporation, or can small businesses reach out to you as well?
Small businesses do. I mean, we're targeting organizations that are out of the startup stage and are a little bit more established and mature. The size doesn't matter as much as the complexity. And so we really like to do work that is complex, that's nuanced, that's difficult to do, that other people tend to pass by because it's not the easy money job. And the reason we like those is, again, it's the same thing as giving somebody the better end of the deal. They become clients for life. And I hate spending money on advertising, because that to me means we weren't able to help enough of our customers grow at the rate our organization is growing. I know a lot of people may have differing opinions on that, but I really look at our organization as building very deep, very intimate connections with our customers, because we have a part of their business in our hands. We have to be a trusted party. We have to have alignment of values. And so for us, it really comes down to not necessarily the size of the client, but the maturity of the client and their ability to become more complex as an organization in order for, of course, their own value creation and gain.
That's perfect. That's great. Okay. So now that we've covered that, small businesses, large businesses, as long as you're complex enough, because you don't like the easy stuff, I'm guessing. So, where can we find you? Well, your website, social media handles, what do we search for?
Sure. So the easiest thing to do is go to www.kyledavidgroup.com. It's KYLEDAVIDGROUP.com. Still haven't been able to get that 3-letter domain yet for KDG. So we're stuck with the old name that we've had for 20 some years, but that's the best place to learn all about us. Of course, we're on all the social medias and LinkedIn especially, but that's the place really to find out, who we are, how we operate, and what we do. And what I'm most proud of with respect to our website is that every week we ask every project owner from our clients to rate how we performed that week. And they have the option to crucify us and say, hey, you did a terrible job. And it will immediately, with no guardrails, go right on our homepage. And I tell people that, and again, they think we're sort of nuts. Like, why would you let your customers post something on your own homepage if they don't like you? And it's a transparency thing. One, it's so rare that somebody says anything other than, like, I'm really happy we're working together. Like, I'm really proud of the work we're doing together. But importantly, it sets the tone for trust. So if you go to our website and you see those reviews that are all over our website, we have played no part in filtering them. We can't even stop them from going immediately on our website. You post and refresh our website, and all of a sudden your name and testimonial, or lack thereof, is right on our homepage. Again, I think that sets the tone for who we are as an organization.
That's perfect. That's great. I like that. I like the sound of that very much. So because at the end of the day, it's all about building that trust and building relationship. Once you build trust with somebody, you kind of have them for life.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, great answer. And so with all these multiple ventures, how do you kind of break down, like, how do you even find the time to do all of this? Or do you have, I don't know, more than 24 hours a day, or the magic wand? How do you do it?
It's a good question. And I would say this is probably a weak area of mine. It's really hard to compartmentalize things. I often take work home, and I often take home to work. And those lines are probably a little more blurred than they should be at times. I'm sure my wife has comments about that as well. With that being said, I think this is more of for me, I have become good enough, not perfect, but good enough at time blocking my day and scheduling things to do, and not letting distractions get in the way to focusing on the thing that's in front of me. And I have found that is a great strategy to complete things instead of having to worry about half complete things. I generally don't like starting something until something else is finished. And that does help me stay sane. But like I said, I'm still looking for that holy grail of how to strike the perfect balance between everything. So if you or another viewer has a good tip, I'm all for them.
Perfect. Well, I'm just glad I'm not in this, I'm not alone. So we're all in the same boat of just juggling it from here, a little bit of hour from there. And, so when you're not busy, what do you do to relax?
So a number of things. I have a big family. We have 3 kids, my wife and I. So most of my time is spent with my kids, which I adore. I mean, that to me is the epitome of relaxing. Even when they're cranky, sometimes they're fun, and that's a real blessing. But if they're taking naps or they're not home, then I usually have my nose in a book. I'm a big reader, and get a lot of pleasure out of reading just about anything. It doesn't have to be a business book. A lot of people know I read a lot of business books, but it doesn't have to be a business book. It can be some fun fiction or anything else. But that's generally what I do in my free time.
That's perfect. It's great. Because I like asking these questions because we interview all these people, like yourself, so busy, but it's always great that the viewers get to know no matter what you do or how busy you are, you need time to do something else, to relax. And hopefully from all the different answers, they get ideas of what they can do. Like
Yes.
reading, that's it's easy to do. Well, sometimes when the kids are not there, I suppose.
That's right.
So okay, so let's go into kind of as we're kind of wrapping up. Um, what is in the pipeline? What's the next big idea? Is something like price scraping again? Is there something cooking up?
I think the 2 things that I'm focused on the most now is continual development at KDG, and our goal is operational excellence, which to me is a continuum. It's never You will never achieve it. It's rolling the boulder up the hill to an extent, but I think in and of that, there's a lot of innovation that comes with it. We like looking at stereotypes in our industry. Okay, consultants are expensive. They tell you obvious things. They run up huge bills and you really get no value out of it. And we really look to shatter those things as much as possible. So the more we can identify areas where our type of business is cast in a negative light, we work really, really hard to be the exact opposite of that, to surprise and delight people in ways they didn't expect. And so while there's no huge grand idea that I'm working on right now, the ideas are really small ones that hopefully cumulatively build up to continue on with the success momentum we've already had as an organization.
That's really, really great. Because again, you touched on my next should have been my next question. As to how because it seems all your business is focused around excellence and customer satisfaction, and so how you keep that fire burning. It's as you said, you just roll it off. It's like rolling the boulder off the hill. There's only so much you can do. But no, it's great that you have strategy of keeping your customers happy. Glad to hear that.
For sure.
And so as a wrap up, are there anything you'd like to say to the viewers? Any special messages for them, special remarks before I ask you my very last question?
No, I would say I'm just grateful for the opportunity to talk with you. And a lot of people, particularly CEOs and people in positions of high, perceived authority, tend to always think they're right. And, I have tried to look at business as trying really hard not to do stupid things instead of focusing all my time on trying to be a genius. Because I know I'm not a genius, but I also know I'm probably much better at spotting stupid things and not doing them than I am coming up with the next, incredible innovation that's going to change the world. And I've just found that a good way, to run business and life.
That's great. Thank you so much for that answer. And so my random question is, if there is an emoji that would describe you, obviously your father, your professor, you're an entrepreneur, like 24 years of entrepreneurship, that is really commendable. So if there was one emoji that will represent you, what would it be and why?
Oh man, that's a good question. I would say it's probably the laughing one. And the reason for that is everybody knows I sometimes have an acrid sense of humor, very, very self-deprecating. But if you can't laugh, what else have you got? And there's plenty of times where we've been on the short end of the stick, or we've lost something, and hey, what do you do? What do you do? You gotta laugh, for crying out loud. You laugh, you learn from it, you pick it up, and you move on to the next thing. So I think, to answer your great question, I love the question, I think I would be the laughing emoji.
That's a great answer. And if you're laughing emoji, it really fits your business. It fits, the persona you actually, because it's so far you're not actually even trying to sell the business. You're selling yourself, selling the idea, selling that friendship and customer relations. So no, I really, really commend you for that, and I really wish you all the best. And yeah, time is running out, so yeah, I would just like to say thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been such a pleasure learning from you. Now I'm just starting up, so it's great to talk to somebody with so much wealth of experience. Thank you for sharing with the audience as well. I'm sure we'll meet again.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Take care now.
Take care. Speak soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Power Ace Radio.